Dun, ta-da!
I feel underdressed for the occasion. Where are we going? Oh, that's right. You work.
Got this job I gotta maintain all the time. I gotta
You
keep up
work,
with all this,
TK.
keep up with all these clients. Holy smokes, man.
All these
Jeez.
clients that want to buy stuff.
You know how many buyers there are out there right now?
Is it just
I'm selling
that there's
everything right now.
nothing to buy?
I'm such a pumper. Like let's just say it. But it's not that I'm trying to get people to pay more for real estate as a whole, right?
No, you're
Like I
trying
don't
to
want
sell
the whole
something.
market to go up. I just want everyone to buy my listing so my sellers are happy. Okay. Everyone else's I really have no opinion on. Right? But that's the goal. That's my job. That's what people hire me to do, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
So hold on a sec. So the numbers showed us like extraordinarily low inventories and
Very
showed
low.
us extraordinarily low sales volume, right? And you're selling everything. So what's going on?
I'm just saying, like, you
You're
know,
the best?
shoot me. No, like shoot me in the comments, do whatever you want to do. But there's a lot of buyers. There's not a lot of inventory. Buyers are anxious. They want to buy. They're not happy with the available inventory and they're settling or they're paying more than they want to because they don't have a choice. And
TK,
that's the market.
I could take that out as a soundbite and say
Yeah,
that it was from like a year and a half ago.
I
I could
know.
say that was like from February
I know. I know. And
at the
and
peak. Like
the same idea is there, but it's just no craziness. There's no craziness. Like
no
nobody's doing
craziness.
anything where it's like I'm gonna go over asking or the last sold for X. Everyone wants to pay less than the last sale still. So if there's a sale, like no one wants to be the guy who pays more because the direction of the market's going down. That's for sure.
So
But
so
at the end of
so
the day, buyers are still gonna have to buy.
so I mean, we had inventory, right? In December. We had inventory and we only sold like 3,000 units, right? And you're saying that there's all these buyers out there looking for stuff. So is it that we have like, is the garbage on the market right now? Is it all just shit? Because the shit's like, I better get out now while I still have some value because
No,
mine is shit.
no, so stigmatized properties are actually not selling right now. So there's a ton of stuff that's out there. If you had a stigmatized property, you were you were selling it no problem when the market was hot because people will be like, all right, so what, it had a fire, so what, it's on a busy street, so what, it's this undesirable type of property. I need a house. Now everyone's like, whoa, wait a second. Do I really want to have that house that doesn't have the backyard, the condo that looks over the dumpster, whatever it is that is, impossible to sort of get around? Those properties are still sitting on the market. Those ones are harder to sell now. You got to solve those with, in price incentives, but definitely the good properties are the ones that I'm talking about. If it's a good property, it's going to sell. I
And
sold that house in the Markham Heritage Estates. That
you
was one
did
place. Yeah,
firm,
firm deal.
firm already?
Firm
Wasn't
deal.
that
Asking
last week?
price. Yeah, asking price.
People
Sold
are
it.
making firm offers.
Yeah,
No condition.
no conditions.
What the fuck, man? I don't understand.
It was a great
Why?
house. It was a great house. It was a nice house.
Yeah, but why not make a condition? Would the seller
I had
not have accepted?
another offer came in.
Multiple offer situation right now?
So
In
two houses are sitting on the street, right? Two houses are sitting on the
hold on,
street
what
for
was this
months and
price
months and
point?
months.
Price point?
One
Price
and a
point?
half. One and a half. And these two houses are sitting on the street, but they're overpriced. They're at like 1.7 or something like that. So, it was obvious that they were bigger houses, more renovations and stuff like that. But they were also corner lots and they're overpriced. So we went on at 1.5 and had 30 showings and a couple offers came in and the best one was 1.5. And there was a few people who were all like in that range that were all talking. So
Sold
that was the
for
price
asking?
for asking. Yeah.
Bro, put that up on the sign ASAP. That's the new sold over asking.
I don't have that sign.
You need a sold for asking with a
I don't have
bell
that.
and
I don't have that
balloons.
sign. Oh gosh.
Is there such a
Um,
thing? There should be a thing.
there
That
should be a
should
thing.
in
No, it
most
should be sold under asking. That's the guy I'm gonna hire. If I'm a consumer and I see a sign that goes up and says sold under asking, right?
Number 2 agent in the city.
Sold after 3 times listed. You know, like that would be funny, right? Actually, there
I would
was
love it.
there was an agent. There's a story out there that I saw recently, and I'm not going to try
A
to make this very
billboard?
specific. No, 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 no. The agent had the house on the market for a long time, and then they took it off the market for the holidays. They're putting it back out and put up the coming soon sign.
Oh.
It was up for months, and they never even took the sign down because it cost $50 to take the sign down. So
Did you see that guy that did the panic sale
funny.
on the assignment of a single family house? He put
No.
out a flyer.
What did he
Panic
do?
sale, like owner willing to make no profit.
Oh God. Yeah.
Closing in 2025 or something.
Yeah. And
well, I mean, it was on Twitter, so it just got ripped to shreds.
yeah.
TK,
Dumb. I don't think he bought. I don't think he sold.
I don't think he sold.
I don't think he sold.
This is in Bracebridge, so I mean, good friggin' luck. Yeah.
Ouch. There was a nice chart that Foch did on his Instagram that I saw, where he was talking about the declines in prices, and he's talking about Newfoundland, you know, doing the best, and like he's been talking about a few things like that. So basically, you know, check him out, Daniel Foch, if you want to get the right answer, or if you just want to hear my interpretation of
different
it,
answer.
Listening,
yeah.
might be different, but basically, the further away you are, you know, from Toronto, the higher the price went, but now the greater the fall. The smaller the market in Canada, wherever it was, you know, Calgary was one, Newfoundland was the other one. Those ones there have got the most stability and you know, are probably the best markets to be investing in this year.
Looks like Alberta's the place to be for
Alberta's
now.
the place to be. Absolutely. It's always been the place to be, really.
Well, I mean, it goes in serious waves over there.
Yeah.
Right?
But you know, Alberta's the place.
Things don't make sense over there if oil is like below $70 a barrel.
But you go there and you get a job in something that's not the energy sector, you know?
That's starting to become more and more of an option. I mean, the offices don't necessarily want to open there, but if you can work remote, I suppose.
If you're going to start a cleaning company, move to Alberta. Like, why would you not?
They do have a decent tech thing going on. But if you saw like some of Luke's videos with showing what the downtown looks like in Calgary, it's like a ghost town. I don't know if I can't imagine that being rectified by now, but yeah. Well, he
Luke knows how to make it. He's a good storyteller, that guy.
He can weave a pretty good web.
He's good. He's a smart guy. He's a wordsmith.
So we're supposed to have a guest. I don't know if she's coming. I hope she's coming. But if she doesn't come, TK.
I'm always happy to talk to you.
Yeah, I like talking to you. You know, I've been so bored. TK. I'm like, I'm so bored of talking about real estate, even though I love talking about real estate. But like, I don't like talking to the agents about the listings. I'm getting very frustrated.
That's a tough go.
I got to get out of this mentality in my head, but they just keep giving me more and more reasons to think that most agents are idiots. So if I go into it thinking that whoever calls me back is going to be an idiot, chances are I find something that they did that makes me think, yeah, see, that guy's an idiot.
That's what happened.
But it is glaring that training is necessary, like glaring. And on top of it, the perspective I have, my daughter's taking an exam again today. She's getting close. She's going to be licensed soon, TK. She's going to be out there looking for a job.
I'm, you know, going to have to start working harder because she's going to take all my business. This is not good. I got to find a way to be able to, you know, do more.
She's going to kill it.
The young generation's coming in.
But it's really, really, really pathetic. Like the system that cultivates the agents. So, I mean, of course we have this pool of agents who doesn't really know what to do. I mean, thank God that there's like savvy investors and that some of the sellers have half a brain now and that there's a lot of info out there because, man, like a lot of deals would just get done way sooner if the agent knew what they were doing. Like, just why do I got to ask you for the information? Like, don't you know already what I need to make this decision? Regardless of the class, like whether it's buying a single family house for myself, whether it's buying an industrial building as an investment, whether it's buying a multi-family building, like the agent selling it should be like, like, here's everything you need.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been verified. And like, here's no, it's in there.
Just forward it to
No,
your
no, that's in there.
financier,
The
and they will.
answers are in that data room, and it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And like, it's like a checklist of 10 things that are necessary on each type of deal, right? Like, for fuck's sakes. But no, it's like, you press the button. I'd like some more information about this property, and you get an email. If you get an email back, it's like, well, what do you need? What's going on? Are you an investor? Are you working with a realtor? This is always the number one question.
Mm-hmm.
Even though there's a box to check if you're actually working with a realtor,
Mm-hmm.
and you check, no, I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
The first question is, do I have to split this commission with anybody? Is the question that they're asking me, right?
No, there's an agency obligation to ask that question.
Yeah. Then what's the next question? Like, are you really able to buy this thing?
Can you show me proof of funds?
Like, it's
depending on
like,
how big the deal is. Remember,
like,
I need
what?
proof of funds. You're gonna have to show me like a bank statement or something. Give me some information. I got a napkin. I got a napkin with some numbers on it. Is that gonna be enough?
Google me, bro. Google me.
Yeah.
Right?
Google me.
Like, check it out for 5 minutes. Google me.
How easy would it be to create the most elaborate, like, developer profile about how great you are and all the projects you've done? You've worked overseas. You've got all these great developments that no one's ever going to be able to verify. And then you could be like, yeah, just Google me and like, let me know like if you want to accept my offer and stuff. Like, you could be
Forget about that. I'm talking about the initial conversation, TK.
I'm just saying, look
come
how
on, bro.
easy it is. People, they,
of course,
how many times there's been an email that I've got where it's like, I've got this inheritance, or I've got, I'm trying to buy a property, $10-20 million property. And, we own this big company down in such and such a place in England and America.
But this is not, what's the word I'm looking for? This is not, like qualifying a lead here, for God's sakes. With that's not the second question you ask. It's like, let's talk about the deal. Like,
so it's a first date. It's a first date. They're asking you like,
don't insult me right away.
How long do I got to know you before you're looking to move in with me?
Just don't smack me in the face with the second question. Like, can you really afford this deal? Like, first of all, why the fuck am I calling you? I'm going to waste my own time. Like, hey, I just wanted to shoot the shit. People do that for sure. They do that. But like, I don't know. If I'm the guy selling it, do I put it on the MLS because I don't want people to call me and ask questions?
I think that agents don't want people to call them. I think they want to post it on the MLS and they want another agent to bring them the buyer, and they want to do absolutely nothing. That's my opinion.
I feel like I offend them by asking them for information. Our guest is here, TK.
I haven't worked like this hard for listings for a long time. It's a lot of stuff that you got to do right now for listings. Like, you got to be on top of
started, right?
No, I've done it before in other markets, but like just in the last 2 years, like you didn't have enough. First of all, there was 80 guys to call, so I couldn't call them all. Right?
Hello. Good morning.
Sir.
Morning.
Good morning to you guys. How are you?
How are you? Nice to meet you.
Welcome to my.
You're busy. Look at this.
This looks fantastic back
there.
This
is great. This is a real estate office. We've hit gold, TK. We have hit gold today.
Absolutely.
Oh God, yes. Well,
do you want to introduce yourself just briefly for everybody? All
hi,
three people.
Everybody who's on this call. There's two of us.
Hi, I'm Rachel from Landlord Rescue. I do a lot of interesting things.
Landlord Rescue. Wow, what a great name.
Landlord Rescue. Yeah, and she's got some wit
me
too.
About what the actual company does. Your name, complete opposite feeling. I know exactly.
Well, my name's Rachelle Barube. What does the company do? Well, the company does property management, leasing. We branched out into doing some collection work. Not collection, legal enforcement, which is different from collections. And also I do some investing, so not under Landlord Rescue, but other companies. And so it's kind of grown over the years to, I don't even know what you would call it, so I do on every day, I do like a bunch of varied things. We do some like major property development, not like, I wouldn't say call it development. I would call it like we take houses that are like completely decrepit and basically buy them at a very decent discount and
We
build
like
them
discounts.
back up from the ground. Yeah.
Nice.
Where do you focus? What area do you work in?
I don't care as long as the money's there.
Like
Nice.
Winnipeg, or
Canada.
are we Ontario?
No, I work in I do Northern Ontario. I'm
Northern
French.
Ontario. Mhm.
And I'm familiar with that market. I'm from Temagami originally.
I thought
Hmm?
your name would be Rachelle, the way that
It
it's
is
spelled.
if you spell it. But here's the thing. So if people are French, and I'm fluent bilingual, you don't really want anybody trying to say your name. So English people can say Rachel very well, so they call me Rachel, and only French people have permission to call me Rachelle. That's it.
Rachelle.
I mean, that's why,
Daryl?
like, that's
Well,
the
You
real
said,
reason.
don't try to pronounce her name, Daryl. And right away,
I
you
can
went
do
into
it, bro.
Daryl.
I went to French
Daryl,
immersion
no,
for 8
me
years.
too, and neither one of
earned
us
the
can do it right. It's
I
Rachel.
earned the
Exactly.
right.
All right.
So I'm like, just call me Rachel. It's fine.
Yeah.
Well, Rachel, I mean, you are obviously a seasoned professional just by looking at your office behind you. That's for sure.
Yeah. There's a lot of files in there.
So in the last few days, one of the main reasons why I invited you on the show, we were kind of going back and forth with some funny stories about tenants. And so just from what you were saying, I could see that you've obviously been around the block for a while. Have you seen a market like this before?
Okay, so I'm just gonna say this. So I mean, I'll give you a little bit of background so you understand. Like originally, my sheepskin, so to speak, is a diploma in property management, right? Many years ago, I had wanted to be a real estate agent, and I took the course for being a real estate agent, and the first one. And I did a mentorship with this lady who was a real estate agent, and she was crooked, and she ripped off this old lady. And I was like, this is not for me. Essentially, she got a listing, she found a straw buyer, and I was like, yeah, you know what? Like, I can't stand this. Like, this is bullshit. Like it's like small things too. Like, she'd be in the office, she'd be like, don't talk too loud. I don't want everybody to steal my listings. Like, anyway.
Old school. That's
Yeah.
what they call it. Old school.
So then I was like, so actually in the real estate book, there was this thing called property management, which is, they had mentioned, and I'm like, I could do that. Like, my dad was in construction and he made us work from the time we were like 3. So I know a lot about construction. I think this would be good for me. So that's how I started. Hang on one sec. Let me just fix this. This is very glamorous here.
No problem. Yeah.
So
But
people
the reflection
when they
of the window is driving me crazy.
when people think of property management, they go, I like this is easy. I could do that, right?
No stress, no problem.
Yeah,
Tenants just pay and listen
Collect
to you
the
and
rent, call a guy to
gotta
fix
do,
a
you
toilet.
know?
It's nothing.
Something's wrong. The roof's leaking.
Yeah, you
bucket.
should try managing, I don't
Right.
know, Scotia Tower or something.
Yeah.
Scotia Tower. Oh my God.
There's different levels of property management. So that's good that you brought that up, right? So are you focused on like low-rise residential or?
Well, so what originally happened is I started out in buildings, like rental buildings, like 400 units and stuff like that. My first gig as a property manager was actually this couple that had 150 duplexes and triplexes and a couple quadplexes here in Toronto, and they were getting divorced. So they wanted to sell everything, but they wanted like not a fire sale. So that was my first gig. So we kind of went through, we rented the places, we did whatever we needed to do. And then we just got rid of the
What year was that? Sorry, if you don't mind me asking.
oh, that would be 90, I want to say 97, something like that. Like, it was like there. And we got rid of those at 10 cap. And nobody wanted real estate back then.
I was going to say that was a bad time to be letting go of real estate.
they thought we were idiots, right? They're like, oh, why would you rent a place out? Like, tenants suck. Why are we dealing with this? Like, why, who in their right mind would do that? Like, that's crazy.
I had a guy in the 90s who had a place down in Parkdale. I told the story on the show before, where he had a 5-unit building. It was paying for itself. The mortgage was getting covered. I don't know what the cap rate was, but he said it was completely 100%, neutral or positive cash flow. So all you had to do was just collect the rent, and he couldn't give the property away for free. He called charities. He was like, take the property from me. Like, you can have it. The mortgage is X. The payments are here. The tenants are all great. And all you got to do is just make sure that everything goes well. And it's yours. It's free. And they wouldn't take it from him.
No, it's absolutely true. Like, I mean, people don't think that they've, I don't think that people have realized kind of the culture in Canada around real estate has changed. Okay. And people didn't notice it because it happened like one increment at a time. But in reality, it's changed a lot. And this idea that everybody should be a property owner and so on and so forth is it's a fabrication of our time, right? Not everybody should own their own property. I mean, we say that because in Canada, we have no economy. Like, that's not like real estate related at this point. And it hasn't been like in my lifetime. Right. And that's really it. There's no innovation. Like, if you guys weren't working in real estate, you would be, as young guys. Are you hiring? Where would you be working?
No, it's a great point. Sure.
Yeah. And that's it. And it's the same reason for me. Like, as a commercial type property manager, why am I managing like a bunch of houses and condos, like individual condos and buildings? Like, why am I doing that? Well, because that's where the money is. Why is the money there? The money, it's crazy. And
why do people own it? Yeah, and why do people even own a condo to rent it?
Well, yeah, because of appreciation. If there's no appreciation in, I have a spreadsheet that will tell you exactly how much the condo is worth. So, and I mean, we're kind of headed that way. And I don't want to be a doom and gloomer, but this is the way it is. Today we heard OSFI what was OSFI doing? They're like tightening down again.
They're changing. Yeah, let's talk about this, because OSFI is changing. I don't even know what they're changing, actually. I think they're not trying to change the stress test so much, like percentage wise, but they definitely want to fuck around with this thing in a way that's going to tighten the market for sure, which doesn't really make any sense. And it's like, on top of just everybody telling us now that they're going to raise property taxes because they're getting rid of development fees. It's like, what the fuck? We're going into a recession, you fucking assholes. And like, everything's going crazy. And now, hey, guess what? Bam, we're going to hit you with higher property taxes. And isn't this crazy?
Yes. And it's entirely predictable for anybody who watched the United States. It is completely predictable because they had like whatever they had, that kind of set the whole thing off. But essentially, properties get overvalued from time to time. And then there's like an event. I don't know what that event is. Nobody knows what that event's going to be. Nobody can predict that. But it's like kind of like when your glass gets like too full, it like gets like over, and then all of a sudden it starts to spill. It doesn't matter what makes it start to spill. What matters is your glass was too full. Right. But there's always this concentration on the glass, like what happened? Like, no, that doesn't matter. Like, we know properties in Canada have been overvalued for years because, and we make up stories for why that is, right? And the real truth of it was when the US had their crash, the Canadian government moved to like goose lending, like, I don't know, like it's like they have I can't say that there's collusion or whatever because I have no proof of that. But listen, it's like every bank gets the message. We're going to lend on mortgages and we don't care, and that happened. Like, the Toronto market dropped 17 points in 4 months. And then the Canadian banks were just like, no, we're not following the crash. We have great lending, whatever. And the Bank of Canada like throws a bunch of liquidity in there and they just like lend their faces off. I mean, people forget at one point there was like 40 years zero down mortgages in Canada, right? And it's like there has been like this long ramp up to where we are. And then people are like, the prices are high and don't make sense. And it's like now that they've changed. And so like we see this everywhere in asset bubbles. It doesn't matter what it is. And even in the 1930s, I was reading this thing and they talked about the bezel, which is something that refers to the quantum of fraud, right? And when lending is loose and not really watched too much, fraud grows, and everybody kind of hops in. But what fraud means really in the case of housing is we're going to be gatekeepers. Okay, we're going to let these people in that are proper people, but we're not going to let these other people in. And like kind of like as like a self-employed person, I'm like one of those people that they don't want in their little thing. So like, for instance, when I was trying to get financing for my northern properties, everybody was like, forget about it, like, you're self-employed, you don't have a husband who's employed, we don't want you, we don't care, no. And it actually caused problems. And then I realized this was true. I wasn't going to qualify for any like significant financing and I didn't care. I'm like, okay, I'm going to structure my business so I don't have to worry about whatever. And so I have like a bunch of property, like I got like, I think I have like 6 up there now. And like I literally have a 25 grand line of credit. That's it. But the properties aren't worth much, right? But now like that, the interest rates have gone up. I'm like, okay, well, that worked out for me, but it wasn't because I didn't like try. I mean, it was just because nobody wanted to lend in those areas, number one. And that's like the main problem. And the ones that didn't want to lend to me, and that's fine too.
Darryl and I are no strangers to being denied at the bank for a mortgage.
Yeah, so
that's the self-employed, mantra.
I don't even
like,
go
how
to
do
the
I
bank.
structure my whole entire life around the bank giving me eventually some sort of loan, right? Because
the rates are good. That's what I'm talking about, being a gatekeeper, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the gatekeeping. So it's not like, can you pay? Are you going to pay? It's like, do we like your paperwork? And really, that also applies to people who are like have low income, right? Like for instance, if I'm renting a property, right? I'm not allowed to discriminate based on a source of income for like, say, somebody who's on Ontario Works or ODSP. But if that same person tried to get a mortgage, good luck, right? So it's even more gatekeeping. I mean, like that's just, but in
the property management world, you could, in the property management world, you could say something else. So like, we're considering another applicant, but really in the back of your mind, you're like, this person isn't qualified to be able to take over this apartment. And I think the bank has got those same types of things, right? As they've got their reasons. Well, your GDS, your TDS, or it's not a contract, or it's not permanent employment as opposed to temporary employment, and like they have their reasons behind it. It's never just like, hey, we're discriminating against you. I don't know how much I agree on the bank side as much as I would on the rental side. Like, I think you should be able to afford the place before you get a mortgage. I mean, like how do you pay?
But what happens
are unsecured. You should be more careful with your rentals because rentals are unsecured. Think about that for a second. Let that sink in.
But the payment's lower, right? And if somebody doesn't pay, the law is supposed to step in to be able to help out. Which I want to talk about that a lot with you today. But in the mortgage sense, I mean, it's very cumbersome to be able to take over a house afterwards if a person isn't able to pay. So
I'm familiar with that process.
Yeah, it becomes quite the process and very expensive. And so, the bank, and there's also a lot of money being put out, right? Where there's a lot more risk. Not to say that being a landlord doesn't have a lot of risk.
Well,
But I know what you're saying. I know what you're
yeah,
saying.
I mean, we're
don't,
unsecured. So a lot of people, and I can understand certainly after, you know, the last couple years, I can certainly understand why landlords are terrified. They're like literally all shitting themselves. I'm not even kidding you.
I don't think the answer would be to have it to be easier to get a mortgage. I think the answer really is housing prices need to be more affordable. Like, I mean, that's the answer. We know what the goal needs to be. The goal needs to be that everyone has the right to a home, that no matter what your income is, you have the right to own a home, no matter what, you know, profile you fit in, you have the right to be able to be secure in the place that you live, not having to worry about anyone kicking you out. And as long as you pay those bills and taxes, you get to live there forever. I believe in that.
There's got to be better ways of going around getting there than destroying the economy and killing everybody's jobs and income.
Well, here's the thing, right?
Can't we just like build a lot of stuff until it's balanced? Like, fuck, let's go. Let's just
small things, big things,
everywhere.
far things, high things.
Build something. Go get a mortgage. Go get a construction loan right now.
Oh God, this is what I keep telling everybody is like, good luck. So I'm a developer. I don't know if you know that. Like, good luck financing a development deal right now, unless you're buying something that like cash flows and covers itself. Like, you're gonna bleed like crazy, or you won't even get financed because you paid too much for the land, right? It's not easy to finance. So that's where all these terms are coming into play, I guess, right now. But it's a big mess, because then you start to talk about the seller's expectations. Like, everything is not lining up right now, right?
Well, that's the thing. We're supposed to build. How are we going to do that? Like, I mean, like a lot of these things are like, I mean, I think a lot of times the government says like, oh, well, we're going to build these incentives, but they don't really think about how those incentives work, right? Like, for example, they used to incentivize building rental towers, right? Like all the buildings I ever worked in were built like way back when, and they were subsidized by the government. End of story. They were all subsidized. And if you look, they all basically came at the same time. I'm not talking about 17 friggin' units here. I'm talking like
400
units,
70s,
400, whatever. They were financed by the government. And then the thing is that if we want people to build rental housing, purpose-built rental housing, we need to provide a path for people to go down, right? Like somebody in government needs to think like, okay, if I was a developer right now, how would I make that work, right? Okay, I'm Joe Blow. I'm a developer. I have money. I have some money. Usually I rely on construction financing to build my thing, whatever it is. How am I going to build a rental building? I want to build 1,000 unit rental building in Toronto. How do I do that as a developer? And then they need to go through the steps of how they would build this thing, and then realize for themselves that in Toronto anyways, or pretty much anywhere, I think in Canada, that would be friggin' impossible. So that's the problem. So if you want people to do it, then they have to be able to do it. Like all of these things, you know, I mean, this is like negotiation 101. This is the same negotiation I use with tenants that, you know, have to leave. I'm like, you know, like your rooming house tenant guy who's paying $400 a month is not leaving to vex you. He's not leaving because he has no other place to go to than the shelter. So unless you fix that problem, you're not going to. So whenever you ask people to do things for you, they have to be able to do it. It's like if I said to somebody who has no legs, oh, please jump for me. He could want to jump as much as he wants, but nobody's jumping, right? And that's the problem. Like nobody like thinks this through. They're like, oh, my tenant makes me mad because they're not doing what I want. It's like, yeah, because they can't afford to do what you want, because their credit is not like 700 score, even though they might be gained or whatever. And the rent at the new place has gone up like $800 a month. So it's actually paying them $800 a month to sit in your place and wait a year for a court date. Who wouldn't take that what deal? Like, what are you offering? Oh, I'll give them a month's rent. Who cares? You know, like,
I'm going to say something controversial, right? And this is just, this is not like what I think or anything like that, but there are people out there who say that, when people are in like, low income housing and, they're on government support and all that, they're not motivated to go out and make those changes in their life, right? And that, sometimes people have made big changes in their life because they were put into really uncomfortable situations, like having to pay more money for rent or, facing homelessness and all that kind of stuff, right?
I'm gonna say no to that. I mean, like, I am like a very, very lucky person. I will tell you that I am sitting here and that I have all my brain cells and everything. Because when I was like a very young girl, I spent like 3 years with a psychopath, right? And I was not in a good place. And after that, it took me a lot of time to recover like my faculties. And a lot of people who have gone through what I've gone through in their life, like, do not recover the way I have and are as sane as I have, like, are nearly as sane. Not that I'm claiming I'm sane, but, and people forget that. Like, I mean, you could be working one day. Like, I know a lady, she was like driving her car. She gets hit by, another car. She's in a wheelchair, what's saving you? I mean, my own sister, she's disabled. She's not lazy. She's like got cerebral palsy and epilepsy and like 100 other medical conditions and even breast cancer in the last few years. I mean, like, everybody thinks they're infallible till they're not. Like, you're here and you're breathing, and you should be like thanking your lucky stars about how lucky you are, because there is no guarantee that you woke up in the morning, and you guys are like young guys, but nobody.
I love that she keeps saying that.
I'm
TK.
incredibly
That's
young.
like, I'm
Yeah.
so.
I have a young filter put on.
I'm coming back again. You see?
Yes, I love you.
But seriously, like, think about it. Like, a lot of things happen. I mean, look at, that football guy. What's his name? I don't even know his name. He's like playing football, freaking gets hit, almost drops dead. What the hell? Like, you don't know what your day, like, you guys could go around on your day and something could happen to you. You don't know. So we're all like very lucky that we're as good as we are. And every day, like, I'm telling you, I am very grateful that I'm able to be as like well as I am, considering like this thing that happened to me when I was younger. Like, it was like pretty traumatic and scary type of thing. And it gave me a lot of empathy for people who are in difficult situations. And a lot of times they can't get out. They can't, it's like you have to be able to think yourself out of your situation before. But the thing that you're using to fix yourself is the thing that's broken. So it's like, really,
is the real estate in Canada broken?
Yes.
Rachel, is it, do we have a problem? Is there a problem?
We have to, okay. So here's the thing. For real estate to be affordable, the prices need to go down. For the prices to go down, everybody who's currently holding real estate needs to take a big friggin' haircut, a big one, and pay back the money that they lent, right? So let's talk about what happens then, okay? Not only that, if we follow the route of the states, the people who rescued the industry were cash buyers, right? Okay. Hopefully we don't. At that time, I was like, oh, Canada would never let that happen because they buoy up the industry. They did buoy up the industry then. During the Home Capital Group saga, they did all kinds of things to prevent lending from taking a haircut. And I don't know if they're going to pull another rabbit out of the hat. It looks like they're doubling down. And that's exactly what happened in the US, is that, like, as the prices go down, they're adding more difficulties. So it's like they're basically, it's kind of like, oh, this boat is sinking. Let's add some rocks. Like, let's not see if the boat will continue to float with the rocks we put in it, because it's like a ramen soup. It takes 3 minutes. No, like, the first interest rate increase isn't baked in until 18 months from now. And how many have they done since then? Right? So everybody thinks of like, oh, well, this quarter, well, that's a stupid way to run a company. I don't care about the next 3 months. Like everybody runs their company like that, like all these publicly traded companies, but it's really a stupid way to think, right? Are you planning to be in business after 3 months? Like, are you going to sell your office furniture to buoy up your balance sheet? Like, no, it's so, like, it's temporary thinking. It's like not even thinking 10 minutes down the road.
So,
right?
so if prices become affordable, like you're saying, certain things have to happen. One,
Nobody
like
will
prices
want
have
it.
to come down. Well, I mean, at a certain point, hopefully people are going to
Isn't
want
that
it
funny?
again, right? But like, isn't
I'm
it crazy? But
It's
hold on. So either prices have to come down, or wages have to go up, or interest rates have to come down. Like these things all kind of have to happen to get prices affordable. But if they're killing prices and killing wage prices or amounts, I don't even know, but wages, right? Like how low, if they're killing wages or trying to kill wages simultaneously, like how low do housing prices have to go to continue to get to affordable? Like how far back
What
do
is
we have to
affordable?
go
Yeah.
where wages, interest rates, and pricing line up to a point where people are like able to buy if they actually want to buy, not just like if they have to buy, or they have to move, or they got divorced, like have tos.
We looked at the average income in Toronto for a medium household after tax. It was $55,000 in 1990. The average house price was $255,000. This is in Toronto. 2022 average take-home household medium income is $75,000. So it's gone up like 30%. And the average house price that was just announced was $1.19 million. It went up 4.5 times, right?
Yeah.
So like, where does it need to go? Does it need to go back to where it was before, like based on the incomes?
I think
Or are we
can't-
past
Yeah.
that and it's never ever gonna, those fundamentals are gone now?
we have to take
The
Toronto.
fundamentals aren't gone.
We have to take
That's
Toronto
correct.
out of the equation. We have to take Vancouver and Toronto out of the numbers
Why?
completely, because they're anomalies in this thing. There's plenty of affordable places to live in the country. There's plenty of beautiful places to live. The problem is
Much
that
more
like
affordable.
people want to live where they grew up, and they're like fixated on living near people that they love. And obviously we all understand that. And everybody wants to like live near where they work, and everybody wants
Where the
everything.
economy is. The people want where the economy is, not where, because like my northern places, like I come from up north. It's like 100 times more beautiful than Toronto. I used to get up in the morning when I was a kid and walk across and have a swim in a lake that I could drink the water out of. And there was no tires in it, unlike Lake Ontario. So it's beautiful up there, but I could never get a job that isn't minimum wage, right? Like, and there's no industry and there's no nothing. Like, so why would you live there? So Toronto is a hub of economic activity, but you need to look at the wages in Toronto, not necessarily the average wage across Canada, to determine the affordability for Toronto. But I will tell you this, that I heartily believe, if investors are going to be the ones putting the bottom under this market, which is what happened after the tightening in the US, first of all, there's going to be a complete culture change. One thing that's going to happen is everybody who now thinks that real estate is great is going to think that real estate is shit, because everybody they know house
We're gonna change the name of the show, Daryl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Change the
Right?
name of the show.
The shitty Canadian real estate show.
It's
I'm
just gonna be
sorry,
Canadian.
No, but it's true. That's how I
Canadian
feel.
problem show, or
I'm already
you know,
like,
Canadian life show.
That's
listen,
how people are. And then they forget the reason. See, the idea that houses are okay. So let's talk about culture, where like, and I mean, I'm going to talk about a little bit up north, because you see in a place where the economy, like there's no such thing as housing as an investment. A house is a thing that you use, right? You live in it, and when you're unhappy with it, you go live in another house. Okay, like you might own it, you might rent it, either or. And that's it. It's not an investment. It's just a place. And honestly, a lot of the places that are built up north were built by places, things like mines, and like in the case of Smooth Rock Falls, where I invest, the AirbNb power plant to house their workers. Okay, not castles, like just places for people to live, like the same as all those Scarborough bungalows that were built in the wartime homes. They're just places for people to live. And we don't build any houses like that anymore, because that would be stupid. Like, it's an investment. So you need to build a friggin' castle, okay? Like, people don't need to live in like 3,000 square feet. And
tell that to my wife.
I will tell your wife that.
Tell her, please.
Tell her,
because
send her.
It's foolish.
Recording.
I mean, one of the places, this is true. One of the places I bought in Smooth Rock Falls was a 2-bedroom, and the original owners raised and had 14 children in that house.
What size? What? What?
750 square feet, and how they managed
how many? 14?
13 more children in a house
50,
that was only
52 square feet per person. All right, listen, you're stepping on my side of the house. Jeez.
Hey, can you get out of my side of the closet, please?
Seriously. I had my young son.
I'm trying to sleep
last night, like the 5-year-old, and I slept like I had the worst sleep ever last night because he was just moving around and kicking and screaming. And it was just I was so upset this morning. I was like,
you don't need this.
I think
and that's, I mean, you want to talk about housing affordability? How about we stop thinking about building castles for 2 senior citizens who are investing because they have money, and realize that that's like a little bit obscene. I mean, I've been in a house. I remember like this happened years ago up in Brampton. I forget what street it was. It was like a 6,000 square foot house. And there was 2 people living in there, and they were trying to rent it out. And so I went there to rent it out for them. And when I went there to rent it out, they like I had to leave my coat on. And they're like, we can't heat the house. And I was like, what? They're like, no, it's too expensive to heat. And literally there was like 1 bedroom set.
Everything's cracking everywhere.
Yeah. I think so. What you said earlier, though, you said something really profound. And I think that's what it is that there's going to be a shift, right, in the culture side of real estate and what people need. And I believe I'm 100% behind that. What people expect to get, what they envision, where they're like, oh, I'm going to grow up like a house that I lived in the 80s or 90s, or I'm going to have this, that, and the other because that's what I deserve. That needs to change.
Houses here,
because prices may not go down.
No, houses here are going to, they're going to start to look like when you're in Mexico. You know, when you're driving down the highway in Mexico, and like some of the houses, you can see the rebar in like part of the 2nd floor, because you know they're planning one day to build it. That's what it's going to be like here. So you're going to get like a little starter box that you can like maybe add on to over time as you get more.
Exactly.
No,
but you have to change that
for everyone else.
That's a cultural change. That's a generational change where they need to grow up, and they need to say, it's okay that I live in a condo. It's okay that I live in, and in other parts of the world, they already went through this.
That's right.
They've already gone through this a long time ago.
We're a bunch of spoiled brats.
We're
spoiled little bitches here. And we want what we want, and we want to live near mom. And we want our kids to live near us, and we want to be able to afford it all. And we want to work right now down the street. And it's not realistic right now, but that's because of low interest rates and like just the ease of that market running away on us. While, I mean, a lot of people got caught up in this thing running away over 30, 40 years, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about,
let's unravel it now, though. Yeah.
Right. Let's get into the rental business.
This is a great time to be a landlord. There's no problems. It's easy.
It's
you have a problem with a tenant. You just apply to the board. Your hearings tomorrow.
Okay. Let's not talk about the board. I'm going to talk about.
You got to stay on the good side of the board. I get it.
Renting.
And the business of rentals. So let's talk about business of rentals and business in general. So if I'm making cookies, right, there's such a thing called the cost of goods sold, which is alien to any landlord in Toronto at this point. So essentially, if I make a cookie, I'm I have to pay like, let's say 50 cents for the cookie, 25 cents for the packaging, and then I need to sell it to someone else for $2 so that I make a profit, right? So let's talk about that in context of renting in Toronto. So we buy a condo. It costs, let's just say $2,000 a month. We rent it to a tenant for $1,000 a month. Where's the business? It's not a business. That's the problem. And that's the problem that I have. And we're just about to realize, and this kind of goes like in lockstep with the idea that the government stopped allowing and letting people, like investors, okay, real landlords, build rental buildings for people. Okay,
real landlords.
We
I like that term.
replace that with building condos, and then we rented them to individual people, and then the ma and pa investors paid for that.
Yes, they took the losses because the big boys were smart enough not to do it.
Well, they didn't take any losses, right?
The monthly negative cash flow they absorbed,
but
temporarily,
until today.
Speculation,
until
because
today.
of the speculation aspect, they were wildly successful.
We're on the same page. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
And then developers said, well, these investors are making too much money. I'm going to sell them this condo in future dollars.
Controversial topic.
Oop.
Right?
Is that what happened?
Yeah, controversial.
It used to be that
wouldn't that mean that the margins improved by a considerable amount at some point? Because I don't think that really ever happened. Like we don't make that much money when we build stuff. So I
understand, but you're getting haircuts too, right?
Well,
you're getting haircuts too.
I don't know about haircuts. I think they're adding on a lot of hair is the problem. Like it's the cost of the land that's the real fuck up, which forces you. Listen, I know that we are evil and we've destroyed the market. We're definitely part of the problem. There's no doubt.
I'm not saying developers are evil.
But we are. Everybody in this industry is on some level like in it for themselves to make as much money as themselves. And this is what we've got. Like this is what happens when the system is based on that. Like we see it everywhere across the world. There's no doubt. Yeah. Right. So, but in a system where that's the case, is that you need to make at least a certain amount, even just to get financing, you're forced to set that price at something that achieves that target, right? Like there's no choice in the matter, because the land event, like especially in Toronto, when you pay $80 million for an acre downtown, like guess what? And then on top of it, your development charges go from $5,000 to $55,000 over a 10-year span. And then on top of it, the construction costs go through the roof. And then on top of it, it takes 2-3 years longer to do. Like that end price is only set by all of those factors, right? All those factors, including the timeline, which is a huge problem, not only for getting product out to people, but I mean, when you're paying 8, 10, 12% interest for an extra 2 years, I mean, nobody's sitting there going like, I can't wait to eat all these extra expenses and not pass them on to the end user where I haven't already set the price, right? So it's like the whole system needs a total overhaul, and it needs to be okay, like we're saying, to rent, and not only to rent, to like not rent what you're used to. Like that's going to take a long time for the kids that we've spoiled to be okay with less than we gave them, as we're sitting there trying our best to give them everything in the world because it's so easy right now. Like
more importantly is why they had to switch from building and using those resources, using that time, using the planning, using the construction materials and everything else from a purpose-built rental and convert it into the condo rental, right? That's more important, is why wasn't the government stepping in to say, hey, these real landlords, like you said, which I think is a fantastic term, they're real landlords. They actually know what they're doing, and this is their full-time job, had no choice because it didn't make sense for them to pass the buck.
Absolutely absolutely not. And
No, the
if
policy stopped making sense to build that stuff.
Exactly. They had no choice but to
money.
build condos in this way. Otherwise, that building never would have been built. And literally, we'd have a bigger housing crisis if it didn't happen. And I was just talking to a construction management guy recently where he's telling me another project. He works on a lot of projects. He manages different buildings. And he says another project just got converted to purpose-built rental. So the performa, when they're looking at it and they're saying, okay, condo prices are going up. Makes sense to do condos, do condos, do condos. Go, 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 go. Oh, condo prices, sales centers aren't happening. We've got this land. We're already halfway. We're doing purpose-built rental. Let's go. Bring on the investors. We're doing purpose-built rentals.
They have the coin to continue building, though.
They have no choice.
They have no choice.
These are big guys. These are all the big guys, by the way.
Yeah,
These
yeah.
are not the, these are all the biggest guys, but they have no choice. The condo market right now, they're not going to be able to pre-sell it. So they have to go in the direction that's going to make the most amount of sense.
No, and right now rental numbers are going up. So
no
it's
rent
like,
control
oh,
in
now
Ontario. Yep.
change a few numbers here, change a few numbers here. And oh my God, rental makes more sense. And now I can get CMHC
Cut back
financing.
on a few
Now the
amenities.
performa makes sense. And guess what happens? Oh,
No.
in 2 more years after the application's in and they've argued and they've agreed and it's going to be purpose-built rental. No, but next thing you know, it's a condo again before they launch. It's a
market's
condo
changed.
again. Market changed, everybody.
Let's
Oh,
go.
yeah,
Granite
maybe.
counters, granite counters.
I worked on one. Listen, 50 Schollard was supposed to be a rental building. It was supposed to be done by the family that owned the land for a long time. And they could have done a rental building because they had more money than God. They could have done it.
Do that. Who
But-
would do that?
Well, they would have done it, but they all got sick and they decided to sell. But guess what? The next buyer didn't come in and say, hey, this is a great rental site right here in Yorkville. No. He came in and he said, I'm going to sell the shit out of this thing for $2,800 a square foot. It's a condo again.
Nobody in their right mind. See, here's the thing. It even started with the property tax differential. So if you built a condo building, it was taxed the same way a house would be in Toronto. And if you built a multi-residential building for many, many years, the property tax rate on multi-residential, and you can actually look it up now, because for older buildings, the tax rate on multi-residential is still like 2.5 times higher than it is on a condo building, which is insane. So like that, fiveplex you talked about in Parkdale pays more property tax per person than anything. I mean, the city of Toronto crows about affordability. Okay, you know what? There's a law in Canada that if you lower property tax rates, sorry, in Ontario, not Canada. If you lower property tax rates in Ontario, your tenants automatically get a rent decrease of whatever the property tax decrease is. So why don't you just lower the tax rate on existing multi-residential buildings to be the same as the fancy new condo around the corner? Like, why don't you do that?
In my experience, and I don't have all the numbers in front of me. In my experience, they're collecting more money from a condo building than the purpose-built rental property tax.
No.
Because the assessed values of each unit totals more. Because right now we're selling about
maybe that.
So a purpose-built rental right now, let's say you're going for $400K a door, right? If you go into a similar building in the area, those condos are like $800,000 each, right? So they're collecting a lot more per unit in a condo than they do from a purpose-built rental.
They changed the rules now. They changed the rules. They changed the rules on any new purpose-built rental. So maybe it would, I don't know how it affects it that way when it's built, but I know like in some of the buildings that I was managing, like literally property tax was like the highest budget item we had.
Yeah, that's
So
normal. That's still the case in any, rental other than your debt servicing.
So, I mean, I'm just saying they could do that. I mean, but
there needs to be more government intervention. I know what you're trying to say. There needs to be more government intervention. I like how you talked about in the 70s, the government finance buildings. It's so obvious when you drive around and look at all the rental stock we have in these high-rise apartment buildings. It's clear whatever they were doing back then worked. It's clear that CMHC, like the MLI Select,
started something
95% loan to value type of stuff. It works. I'm seeing a lot of people right now who are selling buildings where they have a mortgage, a CMHC mortgage. I know guys who've got them to be assumed. So I know that they are funding buildings. Darryl, you looked at that before too, right? One of the guys
they started a new program
for new construction. Like it's pretty crazy terms and favorable rates. It's just the cost of land. How do you get the land to be able
Yeah,
to
but
do
you
it
have
on?
to
It's
make
not-
the
Cost of land
performa
is-
work for a purpose-built rental. And then to
Yeah.
get the good rates, you have to
which
be
means the
affordable.
cost of your land. Yeah.
Yeah, which
If the
this
cost of the land isn't there, then it ruins everything.
Oh, and then where rentals make sense is where the land is like not as big a component of the deal, right?
Yeah.
Like further out. So
Yeah.
it's like the economics don't make any sense. The incentives don't make any sense. I'll tell you a story, and this I don't know how to make sense of this. So there's a property at 229 Richmond Street West, and it's a beautiful corner property. It's a Richmond and
Peter?
yeah, I want to say Peter. It's an empty parking lot, okay? And they turned it into picnic tables in the last couple of years. But the city expropriated it from the owners for over $100 million a few years ago. I know this because I was strung along as part of the buying process, thinking I had a chance at actually buying the property. But they bought it for $100 and something million. And you know why? Not to put like affordable housing in a great part of downtown Toronto, but to build a park for dogs, a dog park. Okay. $100 million. Now tell me, if you can expropriate land in the middle of downtown Toronto in the middle of a housing crisis and you're willing to spend $100 million, like maybe it's a good idea to lease it out to somebody who's willing to put a whole ton of housing on it, you know, for the next 100 years or something. But no, it's a fucking park, man. Like this is what we're dealing with. It's like, so you said at the beginning of one of your answers that we need someone in government to think like a developer. And this is the problem right here, because you know what? Nobody in government is a developer, and no one could ever think like a developer, because you know what? You have to be able to take or willing to take crazy, stupid risks with a lot of people's money. And that perspective changes the way you make decisions, right? When you actually have something to lose at the end of the day, your decision making is vastly different. But if you have something to gain, same thing. But these politicians that are sitting there going, like, if I was a developer, I would want this. Like, what the fuck do they know? How could they know, right? How could we expect them to know? And did we even vote for that idiot to make that decision is a whole other story. But like, you see, the problem can't be solved with people that don't have the right perspective. But how do you incentivize the right person to do the job for the government?
They wouldn't work there.
Who the fuck, right?
Like, I don't know. Do you remember that guy? Okay, like the homeless issue, and everybody is talking about the homeless, and they have like friggin' meetings at City Hall about the homeless, where like probably just the cost of the donuts for the meeting could like house 2 homeless people for a couple months. Like, right? Like, remember that guy who's like just a carpenter who's like, I think I could
he built
a house for the homeless people.
They made him rip it
for
down.
$2,000, and he had like people who were just like, I'll give you $2,000 to build a house for a homeless person. Like, that's very sensible. And the city like was like all over this guy, like, fuck you, dude, we want our homeless to die, or go to our shelter where we have a homeless industry and we fund these shelters, and we like have hotels, right? We rent hotels and we put homeless people in them. And then, like, I don't know if you guys were watching, they were like kicking everybody out because the lease on the hotel was different. Like, if I, as a private landlord, get really like, I can't pay my mortgage or my property taxes anymore because I have somebody living in my house who's been there for 11 months, like, tried to kick somebody out, like they were kicking people out of their hotel, I would be taken to jail. There are people who, like, the police would come and say, you're being arrested for harassment, but they can do it. And that annoys me. They're exempt, actually, from the RTA. I mean, and that's kind of...
Well, hotels are. Hotels are.
This is another problem.
Emergency housing is exempt.
Emergency housing.
But this is another problem. Like the governing body,
double dealing.
The landlord tenant board is supposed to protect everybody. And look, everybody's against each other, right? Landlords are against tenants. Tenants are against landlords. Tenants are taking advantage of landlords. Landlords are getting fucked. Everybody's like fighting because it's like a lawless society right now.
I love my landlords. I love my land. I'm going to say this. I love my landlords. I have like the best landlords. Like, look at this place. Okay, this beautiful house of whatever. This is like at
A lot
Young
of
and
business going
Davis-
on there.
Young and Davisville. I've been here for 7 years. It's the mid floor of like a walk up, right?
Mm,
And I have a very reasonable rent. I don't bother him. Like this year when the AC was making a funny noise, I just called my guy and paid my guy. I didn't annoy him and tell him this is the bill because I'm getting like a really good deal here. I'm not going to tell you exactly what I'm paying a square foot, but it's really good. And he hasn't raised my rent and he doesn't bother me. And guess what? I don't bother him. And I make sure I pay my friggin' rent on the 1st. And that's it. This is commercial,
Sure.
you know, I don't even, he could kick me out any day. He could just come and say like, leave. And I mean, but I had a thing happen recently where and this is like a happening in real time. So I have a house in Scarborough. I've lived there for 30 years. And recently there was a shooting at my son's school. So I'm like, well, as a lot of people have noticed, there's problems with Scarborough. And it's not the other thing. And then I had another thing happen.
Not enough subways. That's the problem.
Eh?
Not enough.
Well,
I live in Scarborough too, by the way.
There,
Not enough
you know,
subways.
some areas are nice. My area used to be nice. Now it's not so nice. And then there was a shooting at my son's school and a stabbing the week before. And there was a guy who followed me around with a sleeping bag over his head. I know I'm gorgeous. He probably couldn't help it, but it was vastly unpleasant. And I said to myself, maybe I should go to a better area, at least until my son is finished high school, so he doesn't have to deal with the issues that are in this particular high school, where there was a shooting and like one kid died and the other. And my son was leaving the school. And as he's leaving the school, he heard the gunshots. And the next day I had to drop my son off. And there's like 50 cop cars and it's just like a disaster. And I'm like, you know, maybe I need to rethink my area choices. And that's what I did. So I decided I'm going to move from the area, but I like my house. So I rented it out. And then I rented a house in Aurora. So here's the thing. So I did the math. If I had $1 million, which I do not have $1 million in my pocket, and I put $1 million down and I tried to buy the house, which I wouldn't be approved for anyways, because, you know, self-employed income and all of that stuff. But let's say I was approved, that landlord would be subsidizing my rent by around, I'm going to say, I think I did the math. It was like, if I put $1 million down on the house that I rented, that landlord is subsidizing my rent like about $4,000 to $5,000 a month. Yeah.
If
Be
it
a
was
very large house
available,
that you're renting.
yeah, if it was
It is.
This would be a
available,
It is
$2+
actually.
million house.
And you know, it's not because I just applied for that house. I applied for every house like that was like in my, like some very modest houses. And I'm telling you, like this house is like really super nice. And like, it's the one I was approved for. Like weirdly, like the other houses, like they didn't even bother with my application. They're just like, get out of here, get out of here, get out of here. This was the people who did. And like, and here's the thing, I own a bunch of properties. Like as somebody who does collections of like orders, I can tell you there is nobody more vulnerable to any type of legal action than somebody who owns a property. So for sure you can collect. I would take that any day. And I actually buy debt from time to time. If I know there's a homeowner, I will buy the debt. You say to me, I have a debt for $10,000 and the guy's a homeowner. I'm like, sure, I'll give you $5,000 today, knowing that I'm going to get like 12 grand in a few years from now. That's it. So,
cool.
I mean, my point is that that guy's giving me a gift. He's literally giving me the use of $1 million and I don't know, like how many, like 4,000 a month in costs. I mean, and he's happy I'm there too, because he knows I'll take super great place in the place. But how do I feel about my land? I don't feel like he should mow my grass or come shovel my friggin' driveway. I don't even want my landlord there to mow my grass and shovel my driveway. I can do that myself. But this is like kind of the thinking. And the landlord has been completely vilified. Like, how great is it that I can use this beautiful house to house myself and my family? And like, it's a gift. It's a gift every single month. And I don't know why other
no
people
other
don't see it
society
that
would happen like that, right?
He's an evil landlord, because he and every other landlord is in it for speculation. There is no landlord business. This is why it breaks down. This is why it is completely insane to build a purpose-built rental, because of the subsidization that's going on
as of now.
So that's it. If you take out the subsidy, okay, if you take out the subsidy, I will tell you, I haven't done the math in a long time. You say the rent is high, $2,800 a month on a 1-bedroom condo. I have a spreadsheet that says it's worth about $250,000. Okay, after you count maintenance fees, property taxes, and you tie in a cap rate of 10%, it ain't worth shit. It's not an investment. And
by the time it's worth something, it needs all kind of work done to it, because the bathroom's outdated and the kitchen's falling apart and the floors are all fucked up.
But in a
people are overpaying. Yeah, people are overpaying.
In a proper business of landlording, right? You understand that those costs are covered, right? Like you factor in, like if I buy a property and I rent it out, I must make a financial profit so that I can do things, because that house, every single element will need to be replaced in the next 20 years. The roof, the heating, like the flooring, the kitchen, the bathroom, like every single thing is always breaking down. As a property manager, I can inform you of this. Everything is breaking all the time. And a lot of these people buy frigging condos and they don't understand. They're like, oh, I bought a nice apartment for myself and I only pay X and Y and my maintenance fee. And it's like, yeah, you know what? Your place is 20 years old and you also bought like 1/300th of that, I don't know, $200 million boiler or whatever they're going for these days. So good luck to you when it needs to be replaced. And the roof is going to be like another $500,000. And while all your idiot board members who have no training or understanding of how buildings work are arguing about what wallpaper to put in the lobby to make it look pretty, your elevators are getting old.
Wait till all of the curtain walls start to fail and leak. It's gonna be
I got a big one right now that's windows. But Rachel,
I wouldn't buy a condo. I wouldn't buy one. I would. They make, to me, like, here's the thing: people don't understand buildings and how they work. Landlords, and this is the other part. Like, I'm gonna like really dish on property managers here. Property
just to let you know, Rachel, we got like 2 minutes left in the show, so we want to promote you a little bit too.
Another show, because
we want to promote you here. We want to give your information
show
out to people as well.
So until the problem is that, okay, so this is going to finish it off. The problem is that the rental business is a business. Selling your selling your building for more money is not your business. Your business is rent collection. So when we get back to talking about the rents and cap rates that actually work, that include all the expenses and not some made up cap rate, then we'll be back to solid footing. Because right now, rentals as a building, like rentals as a business in single family homes and condos has never existed in the last 20 years because the numbers do not work. That's it. I mean, it's that simple. It doesn't work as a business. It is not a business.
Thank you, Rachel. So where can our listeners find you? So what's the best place to reach you? If we got a lot of landlords who listen to this show who need your help.
Where can they reach me? They can reach me on my phone number or at my email or on my website.
What about your website? What's your website? And we'll post a link to it in the description.
Landlordrescue.ca.
Landlordrescue.ca. What a great name.
You can also find me on Twitter, but don't hold it against me.
Check out the website first.
And to rant there.
Yeah. easier way into it. But thank you very much, Rachel. We really
Thank you.
appreciate you. I think we had a lot of
Thank
really great
you.
content today, and we can definitely get you back on the show in the future and talk
I
about the
can
next
dish
steps
on
once this whole
condos.
bubble is finally, come to rest.
We're gonna have a dish
If
on
ever.
the condo market
Yeah, that would be nice.
episode.
We'll bring on Jordan and her at the same time.
And Jeremiah.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Have a
Rachel.
good one, guys.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye.